Get lost. Paying the bills doesn't make you worthy. My brother barked through the door on New Year's Eve. Then freeze without a dime from me, I snapped, while canceling every payment. Few days later, I gave them two choices. Hey everyone. Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit. This all kicked off about a year and a half ago. I decided to surprise my family and celebrate New Year's with them. Their reaction? They acted like I was a stranger, told me to get lost, and slammed the door in my face. So I taught them a lesson they'd never forget. Here's what went down. I, 29 male, have been busting my ass installing solar panels for 5 years in the blazing Arizona sun. The solar industry has been booming, especially here in Phoenix, where every new subdivision wants to go green for the tax credits. I started as a basic installer making $18 an hour, but worked my way up to crew chief by actually showing up on time and not being a screw-up like half the guys in this business. Now I'm pulling $75,000 annually, managing teams of installers across commercial and residential projects. I also have been supporting my family for 5 years. My best friend Jay from high school has been watching this for years. He's an automotive mechanic who owns his own shop, built like a tank, with zero patience for BS. His assessment of my situation: dude, you're like a financial Stockholm Syndrome victim. These people are bleeding you dry, and you keep saying thank you afterward. Jay's the kind of friend who'll tell you exactly what you need to hear, even when you don't want to hear it. He's been successful because he treats people fairly, but doesn't take crap from anyone. The only other one who seemed to understand how messed up things were getting was my cat Larry. This fat orange tabby has been with me for 3 years, and he judges people better than most humans. Here's how this whole mess started. When Dad got laid off in 2019, they were 3 months behind on their mortgage, with foreclosure papers already filed. The bank wasn't playing games. They had 60 days to come up with $4,200 in back payments plus penalties, or they were out. I had just gotten promoted to crew chief, making $65,000 annually, which felt like hitting the lottery after years of scraping by. Instead of lending them cash they'd never pay back, I made what I thought was a smart move. I bought their house outright for $180,000, used my entire savings account, took out a small personal loan, and liquidated my 401k early with penalties. Put the deeds solely in my name for tax protection, and told them they could gradually pay me back over time. The house itself is a decent 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranch built in the 1990s. It's in a solid neighborhood with good schools and low crime. Property values have been climbing steadily, so it should be worth around $220,000 now. The mortgage they couldn't afford was only $850 monthly, which should have been manageable on 2 incomes. But Rick and Linda have never been good with money. Over the next 4 years, they never paid me back a single dollar. Not one. I kept detailed records of every expense. Property taxes, $3,200 annually. Homeowners insurance, $1,800 annually, and every major repair. New roof in 2023 after hail damage, $12,000. HVAC replacement when the old unit died during a heat wave, $8,500. Plumbing issues from tree roots, $2,400. Garage door replacement, $1,600. Paint job for the exterior, $3,800. All out of my pocket while they acted like they were doing me a favor by living there. The financial strain was brutal. I was essentially supporting 3 adults on my salary while trying to save for my own future. I had to postpone buying my own house, couldn't afford to upgrade my truck, and watched my savings account hover near zero for years. Meanwhile, they were living mortgage-free in a house that would have cost them $1,200 monthly to rent elsewhere. My parents, Linda and Rick, are both 52 and act like the universe revolves around them. Rick claims his back is too damaged for work after his layoff from a warehouse job, but somehow spends 12 hours daily rebuilding his 1985 Camaro in my garage. Linda works maybe 15 hours weekly at a beauty salon called Sheer Perfection. And yes, it's as tacky as it sounds. She spends more time gossiping about customers than actually cutting hair, then comes home complaining about her exhausting job. My brother Josh, 24 male, is professionally worthless. This kid has bounced between Arizona State University, dropped out after 1 semester, Phoenix Community College, dropped out twice, Universal Technical Institute, graduated but never used his automotive certification, and probably 30 different jobs. He's worked at GameStop, Best Buy, 3 different restaurants, a call center, and various temp agencies. Never lasted more than 6 months anywhere. Currently, he's building his brand as a freelance graphic designer, which means he makes about $200 monthly designing terrible logos for his stoner buddies while acting like he's the next Steve Jobs. Josh is the type who'll eat your food, use your Netflix password, borrow your tools, then talk shit about you to anyone who'll listen. The worst part was how they treated me in front of others. Josh would invite friends over to my house, act like he ran the place, then make jokes about me being the moneybags. Rick would complain about being micromanaged by his son over house repairs. Linda would tell her sisters I was always having opinions about their decorating choices in my house. She'd spend my money on throw pillows and wall art, then act like I was being unreasonable for questioning the expenses. Last year, she wanted to redo the kitchen with a $15,000 renovation, money I didn't have, and got mad when I said no. But the breaking point came on New Year's Eve, 2023, and it changed everything. December 31st, 2023. I'm standing at the front door of my house with arms full of groceries and party supplies I'd bought for their New Year's celebration. Temperatures about 20 degrees. Unusual for Arizona, but we were having a cold snap. Mom opens the door like I'm some door-to-door salesman trying to sell her solar panels. Her face goes completely blank when she sees me, like she's looking at a stranger. You must have the wrong house. I'm standing there confused as hell. Mom, it's me. What are you talking about? She stares at me with these dead eyes. I don't know who you are. Then she starts closing the door. The door. I'm holding hundreds of dollars worth of their party supplies, and she's literally shutting me out like I'm some random person who wandered up to the wrong address. Are you serious? I bought all the food and drinks for tonight. We don't need your charity, she snaps, and slams the door in my face. I stood there for 10 minutes in the cold, hearing them laughing and music playing inside. I could smell the barbecue from the backyard. They were grilling steaks. My phone buzzes. Text from Josh. Don't take it personal, bro. Mom said you weren't invited this year. Something about needing boundaries and positive energy only. Maybe find some friends your own age. That's when I heard Rick's voice through the window, loud and clear. Maybe now he'll learn that throwing money around doesn't make you family. Kid thinks he owns us just because he pays some bills. Then Josh's voice, even clearer. Honestly, it's pathetic. He's 29 years old and still trying to buy our love. Maybe getting locked out will teach him some self-respect. I heard Linda laugh and agree. He's been way too involved in our business. The words hit me like a freight train. I literally did own them. I owned the house they were sitting in, making jokes about me. I owned the roof over their heads, the walls around them, the foundation they were standing on. I'd been paying for their electricity, their water, their property taxes, their insurance. They were celebrating their independence from me using resources I was providing. Standing there in the cold, holding groceries for people who just disowned me, I had this moment of absolute clarity. They weren't grateful for 4 years of free housing. They resented me for it. They'd rather be homeless than acknowledge what I'd done for them. I was about to drive home and spend New Year's alone, feeling sorry for myself, when I remembered Jay had invited me to his family's party. I called him from the driveway, still holding bags of groceries like an idiot. They locked me out. Jesus Christ, Theo. Get over here right now. Jay's family lives in a cozy neighborhood about 20 minutes from my place, the kind of area where people actually talk to their neighbors and kids play in the streets. When I walked in carrying bags of groceries and champagne, his mom Carol immediately went into full Italian mama mode. Theo, what are you doing bringing food? We have plenty. Jay told me what happened. Those people are completely insane. Carol's been like a second mom to me since high school. She's this tiny Italian woman who somehow manages to feed an army every time people come over. Her house always smells like garlic and fresh bread, and she's got this way of making everyone feel welcome. The exact opposite of the reception I'd just gotten from my own family. Jay appeared with a drink for me, already cracked open. So let me understand this correctly. You bought food for their party, showed up at your own house, and they pretended not to know you? Pretty much. Jay started laughing, but not in a mean way. More like he couldn't believe the situation had gotten this ridiculous. Dude, this is like a really messed up episode of Punk'd, except the joke's been going on for 4 years, and nobody told you. His dad, Tony, who's retired from construction, shook his head while seasoning some steaks. Son, in my day, if someone bought your house to save you from foreclosure, you'd be kissing their feet, not locking them out on New Year's. Tony built houses for 30 years before his knees gave out. He understands the value of property, the cost of maintenance, the responsibility of ownership. Jay's sister, Maria, a paralegal who handles real estate transactions, was fascinated by the legal aspect. Wait, so you're on the deed? You pay all the expenses, but they have no idea you actually own it? They think I'm just helping with payments to keep it in the family. Maria's eyes lit up with professional interest. Oh my God, Theo. You could evict them tomorrow if you wanted to. They're basically squatters with delusions of ownership. She started explaining the legal concepts: adverse possession, tenant rights, eviction procedures. As someone who processes real estate documents daily, she understood exactly how screwed my family was legally. They had no documentation, no lease agreement, no ownership rights whatsoever. Jay nearly spit out his drink. Please tell me you're considering it. I am. The contrast was incredible. I was sitting in a warm house with people who genuinely cared about me, while my biological family was celebrating my absence in a house I owned. As midnight approached, Jay raised his glass, the same champagne I'd bought for my family's party, to Theo, who's about to learn the difference between family and people who happen to share his DNA. When the ball dropped and everyone was celebrating, Jay pulled me aside. Dude, you know what you need to do, right? What's that? They want to play the "This Is Our House" game? Show them the deed and watch their world collapse. Something clicked in my brain right there, like that moment in Casino when Sam Rothstein realizes he's been played by people he trusted. It was time to remind them who holds all the cards. January 1st, 2024. I'm sitting in my apartment with coffee and pure rage, researching tenant rights and eviction procedures on my laptop. My apartment's nothing fancy, a one-bedroom place I've been renting for $900 monthly while paying all the expenses on a house I can't live in. Larry was perched on my desk, watching me research legal stuff with what looked like approval for the first time in months. This cat has been judging my family situation for years, and now he seemed to sense that I was finally ready to do something about it. What do you think, Larry? Time to teach them a lesson? Larry stretched, knocked my pen off the desk, and gave me a slow blink. In cat language, that's basically saying, "It's about damn time, you idiot." Jay came over around noon with breakfast sandwiches from this deli we both love. So, did you sleep on it like a rational adult, or are we going full nuclear like I suggested? Full nuclear. These people need to learn who actually owns what. I'd been doing research all morning, learning about Arizona's landlord-tenant laws. Turns out when you own property and people are living there without a lease, they're called tenants at will. And tenants at will can be evicted with 30 days notice for any reason or no reason at all. No lease means no protection. Then I found Anastasia through online reviews and referrals from other landlords. This woman has a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in eviction cases. Her success rate is something like 98%, and she's got testimonials from landlords who'd been dealing with nightmare tenants for years. During our consultation, she smiled like a predator when I explained the situation. Her office was all dark wood and legal books, designed to intimidate. Anastasia herself was maybe 5 feet 4 inches, but had this presence that made you understand why tenants were terrified of her. So you own the house, they've been living there for 4 years without paying rent, and they don't know you're the owner? That's correct, she smiled. This is going to be fun. How fast do you want them out? Jay leaned forward. As fast as legally possible. These people locked him out on New Year's Eve. I explained the whole situation, the complaints to neighbors, Josh's social media posts, the constant financial demands, the total lack of gratitude. Anastasia took notes and asked pointed questions about documentation, which I had plenty of. I've been doing this for 15 years and I've never seen a case this clear-cut. You have all the documentation, they have zero legal standing, and their behavior has been appalling. We're going to destroy them. 2 days later, I had my eviction paperwork ready. Notice to quit and demand for possession of premises, in big bold letters, that would make anyone's stomach drop. The key terms were simple but devastating. Current occupants: Linda Morrison, Rick Morrison, and Josh Morrison must vacate within 30 days or face formal eviction proceedings and sheriff-assisted removal. Alternatively, they could remain as tenants paying $1,000 monthly with first month due within 10 days. Anastasia suggested the rent option to make me look reasonable in court. We both knew they couldn't afford $1,000 monthly. They'd been unable to pay their original $850 mortgage. But offering the option would make me look generous to a judge while knowing they'd probably fail. The rent option serves multiple purposes, Anastasia explained. It makes you look fair and reasonable. If they take it and fail to pay, you get them out even faster. If they refuse it, you look like the good guy who tried to work with them. When I got home with the papers, Larry took one look at the legal documents and sat up straight and slow blinked at me like he was saying, "Finally, you're not being a complete pushover." Jay read through the eviction notice and started grinning. This is beautiful. January 3rd, I drove to my house with the papers and a process server Anastasia had arranged. Jay insisted on coming for the show. I wouldn't miss this for anything. This is better than any movie. Rick answered the door in his bathrobe, looking hungover and confused. His face went from annoyed to genuinely bewildered when he saw me with some official-looking stranger in a suit. Theo, what are you doing here? And who's this guy? The process server stepped forward with professional efficiency. Richard Morrison? You're being served with legal notice regarding this property. He handed Rick the papers with a receipt to sign. Service completed. Good luck. Jay was standing behind me, trying not to laugh as Rick's face went completely white, reading the first few lines. The color drained from his face as he realized these weren't fake documents or some kind of prank. What the hell is this? Theo, what's going on? Read it carefully, Rick. Linda rushed to the door, grabbed the papers from Rick's shaking hands. Her voice went up an octave as she read. This has to be fake. We own this house. Josh appeared behind them with his usual immediate aggression instead of trying to understand the situation. This is BS, Theo! You can't just make up some fake legal papers. Check the county records, Linda. My name's been on the deed for 4 years. You've been living in my house rent-free while treating me like garbage. That's when Josh completely lost it, which was exactly what I expected. You're such a lying piece of shit. There's no way you own this house. You're just trying to scare us because you're mad about New Year's. Josh, the county records are public. You can look them up online right now on your phone. Screw that! This is our house! We're not going anywhere. You want us out? Come and make us leave. Jay stepped forward, all 6'2" of him. Kid, threatening the actual property owner isn't the smartest legal strategy. Instead of taking the notice seriously or trying to understand their legal situation, they decided to fight it. Josh convinced Rick and Linda that I was bluffing, that the documents were fake, that they could hire a lawyer and expose me for trying to steal their house. The delusion was incredible to watch. The family drama exploded within hours. My phone started blowing up with calls from relatives who'd heard Linda's dramatically edited version of events. Most were predictably taking her side without asking for details or trying to understand the actual legal situation. Aunt Carol called crying about how I was throwing family onto the streets. Cousin Jenny sent a series of angry texts about family loyalty and blood being thicker than water. Uncle Jim left a long voicemail about how disappointed he was in me and how this wasn't how he expected me to treat family. The narrative Linda was spreading was that I was trying to steal their house using fake legal documents, that I was jealous of their stable home life, and that I was having some kind of mental breakdown that was making me vindictive. But then Uncle Samuel called. Samuel is Rick's older brother, 58, been a master plumber for 35 years. This guy built Morrison Plumbing from nothing, working out of his garage until he could afford a real shop. He's raised 4 kids after his wife died of cancer when they were young, put them all through college, and has zero patience for lazy people or excuses. Samuel and Rick have been feuding for decades because Samuel thinks Rick is a worthless mooch who's never taken responsibility for anything in his life. Every family gathering ends with Samuel calling Rick out for being unemployed, broke, or making excuses for his latest failure. Theo, it's Samuel. I just got off the phone with Carol, who's having some kind of breakdown about you evicting Rick and Linda. Want to tell me what's really going on here? I explained everything. Samuel listened without interrupting, which is rare for him. Long pause. So, you're telling me you've been Rick's landlord for 4 years and he doesn't even know it? That's right. Samuel started laughing. Really laughing. Jesus Christ, Theo. That lazy piece of shit has been complaining about being controlled by his own son, who's been letting him live rent-free. This is the funniest thing I've heard all year. So you don't think I'm being too harsh? Too harsh? Kid, you should have kicked them out years ago. Rick's been a deadbeat his entire adult life, and Linda enables every bit of it. As for Josh, that kid's been a smart-ass punk since he could walk. Samuel's support felt incredible after hours of angry calls from other relatives who were buying Linda's victim narrative. Theo, let me tell you something. I've been trying to get Rick to act like a responsible adult for 20 years. You buying his house and letting him live there free was the best thing that could have happened to him, and he threw it away because he's too stupid and entitled to appreciate it. Samuel told me stories about Rick's failures over the years. The jobs he'd quit, the businesses he'd tried to start with other people's money, the constant borrowing and never paying back. He'd been watching Rick fail at life for decades, while making excuses and blaming everyone else. 3 days later, Anastasia called with an update. Theo, they hired a lawyer and they're contesting the eviction. They're claiming adverse possession and alleging fraud. Are you serious? Dead serious. Their lawyer is Martin Goldberg. He's what we call a bottom feeder. He'll take any case if the money's right. He's filing a motion claiming they've been living there openly for 15 years and should have ownership rights. The court hearing on January 25th was scheduled for 10 a.m. I showed up in my best suit with Anastasia and a folder full of documentation. Property deed, tax records, purchase documents, maintenance receipts, bank statements, everything proving I was the legitimate owner. They showed up with Martin. Josh was wearing his only dress shirt and acting like he was about to expose some massive conspiracy. Judge Martinez looked annoyed from the start. She'd clearly seen this type of case before. Delusional tenants who thought they could steal property through legal manipulation. Mr. Goldberg, your clients are claiming adverse possession of property they don't own. Your Honor, my clients have been residing in this property for 15 years and have made substantial improvements. Do they have documentation of these improvements? Goldberg shuffled through his papers nervously. Well, Your Honor, they have receipts for some materials. Mr. Morrison, do you have the property deed? Anastasia stood up with crisp professionalism. Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Theo Morrison has been the sole owner since 2019 when he purchased the property to prevent foreclosure. And the defendants knew about this purchase? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Morrison purchased the property to help his family avoid foreclosure, but retained sole ownership. Anastasia presented our evidence methodically. Purchase agreement showing I'd paid $180,000 cash. Deed transfer showing my name as sole owner. 4 years of property tax payments in my name. Insurance policies in my name. Maintenance receipts totaling over $30,000 in repairs and improvements. Everything documented, everything legal. When it was Goldberg's turn, he had basically nothing. No documentation, no evidence, just claims that my family deserved the house because they'd lived there longer. He tried to argue that I'd somehow defrauded them, but had no proof of fraud. The judge was brutal in her dismissal. Mr. Goldberg, adverse possession requires specific legal criteria that your clients clearly don't meet. They don't have continuous possession, they don't have hostile possession, and they don't have open and notorious possession. Mr. Morrison is the legal owner, has been paying all expenses, and wants possession of his property. Your motion is denied. Defendants have 30 days to vacate. Josh jumped up like an idiot. This is BS! You can't just steal our house. Bailiff, remove that man if he speaks again without permission. As we walked out, Josh was screaming in the hallway about corrupt judges and family betrayal, while courthouse security threatened to arrest him for disrupting the peace. That evening, Uncle Samuel called with obvious satisfaction in his voice. Theo, I heard about the court hearing from Carol. She's all worked up about Rick and Linda losing, but I told her exactly what I think about the situation. What did you tell her? I told her that Rick's been a lazy mooch his entire life, that you saved their asses from foreclosure and let them live rent-free for 4 years, and that they brought this on themselves by treating you like garbage. I also told her that anyone taking Rick's side in this is an idiot. After getting destroyed in court, they had no choice but to face reality. Their lawyer Goldberg basically told them they had no case and suggested they try to negotiate with me instead of facing eviction and homelessness. The defeat in court had been total and public. There was no ambiguity about who owned the house, no gray areas about their legal rights. They were squatters, legally speaking, and everyone knew it. Linda called February 1st, voice shaking with desperation. Theo, honey, we've been looking everywhere. Everything decent is $1,200 or more, and we need first month, last month, and security deposit. We don't have that kind of money. I put the call on speaker so Jay could hear. He was over helping me organize some paperwork and immediately started grinning. Larry was sitting on the couch between us, and I swear he was listening to the conversation with interest. That sounds like a personal problem, Linda. Please, can we rent from you? We'll pay you fairly. We just need a chance to prove we can be good tenants. The irony was incredible. After 4 years of living rent-free, after locking me out on New Year's Eve, after trying to steal my house in court, she was now begging to become my tenant. Jay was making exaggerated jerking-off motions behind me, trying to make me laugh. Larry looked back and forth between us like he was enjoying the show. $1,000 a month. First month due February 10th. Month-to-month lease, which means I can terminate with 30 days notice if you screw up even once. $1,000? Theo, that's so much money. Couldn't we start at maybe $700 and work up to it? Linda, comparable houses in your neighborhood rent for $1,200 to $1,400. I'm giving you a discount. Take it or leave it. Rick got on the phone with his usual entitlement. Son, we appreciate this. The court thing got out of hand, but we're family. We can make this work. This isn't family anymore, Rick. This is business. You're my tenants now. Act like it. Josh tried to negotiate, because of course he did. Bro, what if we did like $800? I mean, we just spent money on that lawyer and court fees. You spent your money on a lawyer to try to steal my house. That's not my problem. It's $1,000 or you're out in 3 weeks. After I hung up, Jay was shaking his head in amazement. Theo, I'll bet you $100 they don't make the first payment. Larry stretched and knocked a pen off the coffee table, which I interpreted as him agreeing with Jay's assessment. Uncle Samuel called after hearing about the rental agreement from the Family Gossip Network. Theo, I heard you're giving them another chance with the rent option. You're more generous than I would be. Think they'll actually pay? Samuel laughed, a sound with no humor in it. Kid, Rick hasn't held a steady job in 4 years. Linda works part-time by choice, and Josh makes maybe $200 a month playing with his computer. What do you think? They signed the month-to-month rental agreement February 8th at Anastasia's office. The whole process was awkward and tense. Josh was being a complete ass during the signing, making snide comments about every clause and acting like I was being unreasonable. So if we're late on rent, you can just kick us out? That seems harsh for family. You're tenants. And yes, if you don't pay rent, you get evicted. That's how renting works. Whatever, bro. This whole situation is screwed up and you know it. Rick signed the lease while grumbling about the monthly amount. Linda kept asking questions about utilities and maintenance responsibilities. The whole time, I could see them mentally calculating whether they could actually afford the payments. Anastasia was professional, but clearly enjoying the situation. Mr. Morrison, I'll keep the eviction paperwork ready. Based on my experience, you'll probably need it within 30 days. February 10th came and went. No rent payment, exactly like Samuel and Jay predicted. February 12th, Linda called with the predictable excuses. Theo, honey, we're having a little cash flow issue. Rick's disability application is still pending, and Josh's client hasn't paid him yet. Can we get it to you by the 15th? Jay was there when I took the call, eating pizza and enjoying the show. Larry was sprawled across my lap, purring like he was entertained by the drama unfolding through the phone speaker. Cash flow issue, Jay repeated mockingly. That's fancy talk for, we spent our rent money on a lawyer to steal your house. Theo, we're trying our best here. Can't you work with us? You agreed to pay $1,000 by February 10th. It's now February 12th. You're already in default. February 15th. Still no payment. This time, Rick called with his standard entitled attitude. Theo, we need to talk about this rent situation. $1,000 is unrealistic given our current circumstances. Jay nearly choked on his drink laughing. Current circumstances? You mean being broke because you tried to steal his house? Rick, you signed a lease agreeing to pay $1,000 monthly. If you can't afford it, you need to move out. Come on, Theo. Be reasonable. We're family. We can work something out. We're not family. You made that clear. You're tenants who aren't paying rent. After 20 days of excuses and failed promises, Anastasia filed the second eviction. Theo, this is even easier than the first one. They signed a lease, they're in default, and they have no legal standing whatsoever. The March 1st court hearing was brutal. The judge was clearly annoyed to see the same defendants again, especially after they'd wasted the court's time with their fraudulent adverse possession claim. Mr. Morrison, back again with the same family? Yes, Your Honor. They signed a rental lease, then failed to pay the first month's rent. Josh couldn't keep his mouth shut, which was perfect for our case. Your Honor, this is retaliation. He's mad that we tried to fight for our rights. The judge looked disgusted. Son, you tried to steal his house and failed. Now you're not paying rent you agreed to pay. That's not retaliation. That's consequences. Judgment for the plaintiff. Defendants have 7 days to vacate or face sheriff-assisted removal. 7 days instead of 30. The judge was clearly tired of their BS and wanted them out fast. But the real drama started after the eviction. Josh's desperation turned into full-blown harassment, and that's when his carefully constructed lies started unraveling in spectacular fashion. 2 weeks after they got kicked out, I was at my apartment when this huge guy showed up at my door looking seriously pissed. Built like a bouncer, covered in tattoos. Definitely not someone you want angry at you. You, Theo Morrison? Yeah, who's asking? Name's Marcus. I'm looking for your piece of shit brother Josh. He owes me money and I heard he might be staying with you. Josh doesn't live with me. We're not exactly on speaking terms. Marcus looked confused and increasingly angry. That's weird, man. When Josh borrowed $5,000 from me last month, he said he lived in this nice house with his family and had steady design work. Showed me pictures of the house and everything. My blood went cold. He borrowed $5,000 from you? Yeah, said he needed it for high-end design equipment and software licenses for his business. Showed me his portfolio, talked about all these big corporate clients he was landing. Said he'd pay me back in 30 days, no problem. Josh had been using my house as collateral for loans, telling people he lived there with his successful family and had a thriving design business. The pictures he'd shown Marcus were of my property, my garage, my driveway. He'd been presenting my success as his own to scam money from people. Kids seem legit, Marcus continued. Professional portfolio, nice family home. Talked a good game about his business growth. But now I find out he's homeless and his design business is BS? What happens if he doesn't pay you back? Marcus cracked his knuckles with obvious intent. Well, I'm not the type to just write off $5,000. I've got his signed promissory note, copies of his ID, his social security number, everything. If he doesn't pay up, I'm taking him to court and filing criminal charges for fraud. After Marcus left, Jay was laughing his ass off. Dude, your brother borrowed money by pretending he still lived in your house and had a successful business. That's next-level scamming. 2 days later, Josh called me from an unknown number, sounding panicked and desperate. Theo, I need your help. There's this guy Marcus looking for me, and he's serious about getting his money back. Yeah, he came by my place. You borrowed $5,000 by lying about living in my house? Look, I was desperate, okay? I needed money for equipment, and I thought I could pay him back once I got some big clients. Josh, you've made like $200 total in the past 6 months. What made you think you could pay back $5,000? I don't know. I thought something would work out. But now he's threatening to sue me and file criminal charges. That's fraud, Josh. You used false information to get money you knew you couldn't pay back. Can you help me out? Just this once? I'll pay you back, I swear. You borrowed money by claiming you lived in my house and had a successful business. That's your problem, not mine. I called Uncle Samuel with the update. Samuel was quiet for a moment, then started laughing with genuine delight. That little shit. He's been telling people he's a successful entrepreneur while living rent-free and making $200 a month. This is perfect. Perfect. Josh just committed fraud. Real fraud, with criminal consequences. This isn't family drama anymore. This is actual crime. That boy's about to learn what real consequences look like. 2 months later, Josh was arrested. Turns out Marcus wasn't his only victim. Josh had borrowed money from at least 3 other people. The total was over $12,000 in fraudulent loans, all obtained by using my house as proof of his stability and success. He'd been running a systematic scam, taking pictures of my property and presenting them as evidence of his financial success and family support. Josh ended up pleading guilty to multiple counts of fraud and theft by deception. He got 2 years probation, restitution orders for all the money he'd stolen, and a criminal record that'll follow him forever. The judge was particularly harsh because Josh had used family property to perpetrate his fraud. Meanwhile, Rick was arrested for trespassing after breaking into his brother's house when he got kicked out. He'd been staying with Uncle Paul until they got tired of his attitude and kicked him out too. Rather than finding proper housing, he tried to break into Paul's house to retrieve his belongings and got caught by neighbors. Linda ended up in a women's shelter after burning bridges with every relative who'd tried to help her. Turns out constantly complaining about your ungrateful son while begging for money gets old fast with family members. Jay moved into my house as the perfect tenant, paying $1,200 monthly and taking better care of the place than my family ever had. He asked permission before making any changes, paid his rent early every month, and actually improved the property value with his maintenance and upgrades. The best part is that Uncle Samuel became the voice of reason for the extended family. He calls out anyone who tries to defend Rick or Linda, armed with facts and years of watching Rick fail at life. Theo's the only one in this family with any sense, Samuel told Aunt Carol at the last family gathering. Rick's a deadbeat, Linda's an enabler, Josh is a criminal, and Theo's the only one who worked hard and made something of himself. Sarah and I are engaged now, planning a small wedding where Jay will be my best man. You know what the best part is? Samuel said during our engagement celebration. You didn't just get revenge on Rick. You showed everyone what real success looks like. You own property, you've got a good job, you're marrying a great woman, and you're surrounded by people who actually give a damn about you. They had every opportunity to treat me with basic respect while living in my house for free. Instead, they chose entitlement, lies, and legal battles. Now they're scattered across the state, facing criminal charges and dealing with the consequences of their own actions while I'm thriving. Some bridges need to be burned,